So just to piggyback off of Matt Collins' comment, he does have a big family, but I think a large part of the reason why the Akron Strides is successful is his kids make an outstanding like McGriddle type sandwich. It's like pancakes with syrup and meat in the middle. I don't know if that's like a family proprietary thing, but if you could share that with others, it gets my daughter up in the morning on a weekend to go, and she's a teenager, so that has to be part of your success. I don't even think he's here, but anyway. So thank you very much. Every year we do a panel with a lot of the staff at the Prion Center. We provide a little bit of the data that we have over the last year, and then we'll let you guys ask these wonderful people some questions. So very quickly, again, I'll provide a brief overview of what we do, as well as what we've done, and then we'll have some Q&A. So our mission is we were, as you heard yesterday, started at Case Western Reserve University in 1997 by Dr. Pierluigi Gambetti. We were funded by the CDC, largely out of response to the BSE or mad cow epidemic in Britain, and then the discovery that it could be transmissible to humans in the form of variant CJD. And many countries around that time established formal surveillance centers. The reason why they wanted it in the U.S. is we wanted neuropathologic surveillance because that was the only way to definitively diagnose that type of CJD, and that's still true to this day. So we do specifically neuropathologic surveillance, entirely funded by CDC, as you well know. It allows for a definitive diagnosis of the illness and also allows us to determine the type of prion disease, not only whether or not it's sporadic or genetic or due to variant CJD, but also what subtype. And that's important because if we know what subtypes of different diseases exist, then that helps us identify new diseases that look different. And that's extremely important when you look at things like chronic wasting disease. So it allows us to do neuropathologic and, as we'll talk about later, other forms of laboratory-based surveillance for novel forms of prion disease, especially the acquired forms. So, of course, we have that important focus on preventable, potentially novel forms of prion disease, variant CJD, of course, medically transmitted CJD, and, of course, our main focus is trying to determine whether or not chronic wasting disease is transmitted to humans. So different aspects of the Prion Center, of course, at the very core of it is neuropathologic surveillance. That's what we're funded for by CDC, and everything else is kind of built around it to help that. So, of course, neuropathologic surveillance is through autopsy coordination and then looking at the brain tissue and characterizing whether or not a case is prion disease and what type it is. Of course, if we can help clinicians make a diagnosis, then we're more likely to improve your experience, but also much more likely to get brain tissue, or at least be able to inform people about clinical testing. So we do spinal fluid testing, 1433 tau RT quick, as well as genetic testing, not just on brain tissue, but also on blood. As you've heard, we're also a platform for research. Having all these human tissues allow us to share that variable donation that you and your family have done to enable groundbreaking research in the hope of better diagnostic and therapeutics. We also do some in-house research as well. A lot of that is around characterizing illnesses to make sure that we know what we're looking at and the different characteristics so that we can potentially determine whether or not there are new forms of prion diseases. But we also share a tremendous amount of tissue with researchers around the world. As you heard from Debbie and Lori, we also do a lot of outreach and education in the form of presentations, publications, the internet. We do help them as well with some of their information that they put out to families. We provide consultations. We have physicians that will call and have no idea what's going on with this patient. Can you please help me out? And we'll help them as best as we can. We help with state health departments, as well as the MRI consultation program, where families or physicians can submit MRIs to us, and we'll have an expert neuroradiologist, Dr. Beasy in Italy, look at it and give his opinion. And then, of course, we have the teleneurology assessment program for CJD, which is a service wrapped in a research project, wrapped in a service, where we can follow people that are highly suspected of having the illness over time, over Zoom, over monthly increments. And that allows us to, of course, help families understand the illness, let them know that they're not alone, but also to collect valuable research as well. And then, of course, in recent years, and you'll hear more about this later today, because everything's kind of centralized and standardized in surveillance, and that's one of the key features of surveillance, I think, and benefits, is we're able to really be a one-stop shop to help accelerate and facilitate treatment. So we do our best to help guide and inform clinical studies and provide quick and accurate diagnosis for the disease, but also to raise awareness of the potential for active clinical trials. And we ourselves also are always willing to help in them. So this is a graph. We do include this data on our website, cjdsurveillance.com. It's in a table format, so it's not as easily demonstrable about what's going on. But basically, these are the number of brain samples that we receive over time. That's the blue line on the top. So you'll see that we generally get between 300 or 400 brains every year. And the line below that, the yellow line, is the number of cases that actually wind up being prion disease, any type of prion disease. You'll notice there's a gap between that blue and yellow line, and this is what many of you heard us talk about yesterday, and that actually 30 to 40% of cases that we do see actually wind up not being prion disease. So again, we talk about misdiagnosis in the form of an under-assessment of CJD, but it goes the other way as well. Below that, the green line are the number of sporadic cases that we see over time in our country. That's about 90% of cases are sporadic. The red line underneath that are the number of genetic cases due to genetic mutations of the prion protein gene. Usually that's around 10%. And then underneath of that, the brown and the purple lines are the acquired forms of prion disease, which thankfully are so low that we actually can't really see that on this graph. So I'll call out that we've had 4 cases of variant CJD. All were thought to have been exposed outside of the U.S., which is important. And then we've had 15 cases of medically transmitted CJD over the years. Most of these are due to human growth hormone that were sourced from cadavers. Of course, we don't do that now, but because of these long incubation periods, we still do see cases exposed decades before. One of the things that we can also do now with RT-Quick is RT-Quick is not a definitive diagnosis of CJD, but it's pretty close. It allows us to know that it's prion disease. And because of that, we're able to get a pretty good assessment of the number of not only definite cases that go to autopsy, but also to count cases that are RT-Quick positive that don't go to autopsy. So we would call those probable cases. So that's what this bar graph is the number of people that went to autopsy that were prion positive, but also RT-Quick that didn't go to autopsy. And you can see that this is actually about what we would expect from that 1 in a million number per year. We would expect close to 550 to 600 cases in the U.S. based off our population, and that's kind of what we're seeing. And I think you'll hear after us from Dr. Maddox and the CDC. They use other ways to measure the frequency of CJD, and this is pretty close to what they see with death certificate data as well. So RT-Quick has, of course, revolutionized the ability to diagnose the disease, but also to do surveillance as well. So this is kind of new this year. As you know, we do have different subtypes of sporadic CJD. I thought it might be helpful for families just to see the breakdown of the percentage of different sporadic CJD subtypes that we see. This varies a little bit year to year because there are some subtypes that are very rare, like sporadic fatal insomnia or VV1 subtype. But this kind of gives you a general overview of how common different subtypes are. So the numbers are actually percentages, not gross numbers. And as you can see that, the plurality of cases that we see are at least some form of MM1 or MM1 combined with MM2. And then for the genetic families, I don't think we've shown this before either, but these are the number of genetic mutations that we've seen in the U.S. that have come through the Prion Center. These are not percentages, these are gross numbers. Greater than 60% of all of our cases in the U.S. are due to the E200K mutation, which is pretty much the most common mutation around the world as well. You also see underneath of that, and this is, I think, a little bit more unique to the U.S. compared to other countries. It's interesting, every country has a different lay of the land as far as most common mutations, as we see this V210I, which I know a lot of families here have been affected by that. And it's an interesting mutation because unlike some other mutations where the likelihood is very high that you'll develop the disease if you carry the mutation, that's not necessarily the case with V210I, where the likelihood is about 10% that a mutation carrier will actively become ill. So again, if you have a mutation in your family, you're just interested to see how many cases we have and how it compares to others, we're always happy to share those data with you. So Gabby, she's not on the list, but she came here of her own accord with Michelle. So we invited her up here. But one of the things she did last year is make some videos for us. So we're going to re-show some of those videos. First one, we'll talk about our biobank. I know a lot of you had questions about that with funding. Just like with Dr. Gambetti, this is proof that we do have a biobank and that it's active and the lights and the freezers are still on. I think there is sound with
Proudly
this.
operates a 1,485 square foot repository that is located within the Cleveland Center for Membrane and Structural Biology. The repository continues to grow to meet the needs of the Prion Center and is currently equipped with 33 ultra-cold freezers that are storing almost 8,000 brains. This space allows the Prion Center the capabilities to support research efforts globally. Requests are received, processed, and selected for collaborating scientists. Staff maintain all freezers, and monitoring is achieved remotely 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. The system in place sends notifications to designated staff electronically. As a part of our inventory initiative, we are able to select brains for a variety of different criteria utilizing a barcoding system within our research management software system known as LabMatrix.
One of the benefits of hiring younger people is you say, I'd really like to have this video. And Gabby's like, okay, I'll get that to you tomorrow. And not an advertisement, but entirely shot on iPhone, right? I mean, it looks like professional video, but she did all that with, what was in her pocket. So thank you. And along the same lines, we also thought it would be interesting for you to see some of our laboratories, but also some of the staff that can't make it to the conference. So that's what this video is.
The National Prion Disease.
It should be longer than that.
The National Prion Disease Pathology Surveillance Center is the only center of its kind in the United States. The center coordinates autopsies and neuropathologic examinations of suspected prion disease cases from across the country. Local autopsies are performed on-site, and other cases are performed elsewhere through a network of providers that the center coordinates. In the field of prion disease, Western blotting is an important technique used to identify positive cases and their subtypes, as well as establishing the type of abnormal protease-resistant form of the prion protein, also known as scrapie prion protein. This procedure involves running proteins from patient samples and marking them with specific antibodies, allowing the lab to determine whether the case is positive and to identify the subtype. The histology lab sections, processes, and embeds tissue for histological and pathological analysis. They primarily utilize immunohistochemistry, allowing us to visualize the presence of prion protein within samples. Additionally, they use the H&E stain, known as the gold standard, to provide a comprehensive view of cellular and tissue structures for routine pathological diagnosis. On fixed brain tissue obtained either at autopsy or biopsy, the histology lab excludes or confirms, then characterizes the prion disease by microscopic examination following ordinary histological procedures and analysis of the prion protein, as well as a pattern of tissue distribution. In the CSF lab, prion marker testing is performed through a prion panel, 1433, tau, and RT-QuIC. The 1433 protein is a marker for some prion diseases, such as CJD, when a number of other neurodegenerative conditions are excluded. The CSF team measures total tau in CSF, which is markedly elevated with prion disease. RT-QuIC, real-time quaking-induced conversion, is a high-specificity test that is used to detect abnormal prion protein. The molecular genetic lab searches for the presence of a mutation in the prion protein gene and determines the polymorphism at codon 129 and at other codons. This is tested through DNA extracted from blood, brain, or any other tissues.
And I promise that our funding goes towards more than just pipette tips. The number of pipette tips in that video, yeah, we go through a lot, but yeah, and thankfully they're cheap, but we go through a lot. So again, Gabby, thank you very much for doing that. I really appreciate it. So just a huge thank you for you all. We know that you support us, and we got lots of questions yesterday. We're happy to talk about those questions this time, but you know, this is really for you guys to ask questions about what really matter with your loved ones and whatnot. But thank you for all your help, Foundation and Aiken. And of course, our fellow scientists who've also been supportive during this time. So we're gonna now turn our attention to the panel. Again, not everyone is on the slide here because Gabby showed up and I didn't know, but that's great. I'm glad that she was going to.
Email.
This was before I submitted who was going to be on the panel. So Chicago traffic, right? One of the questions that was frequently asked by families at the roundtables yesterday was, what do you most like with your job? One of the cool things about kind of being in these positions is, and not having to worry about a lot of things, is you see how people grow and learn. And I was wondering if you feel comfortable when you introduce yourself to also talk about, well, what have you learned since you've been at this job? And that can be about you as a person, families, whatever. So we'll start with you, Katie, if you can introduce yourself.
I'm Katie Glisic. I'm the admin lead. I also coordinate all of the research projects for Dr. Appleby, and I help him with his teleneurology study as well. I have been at the center for 19 years. I started with Dr. Gambetti, and my role has changed many, many times. But one thing I would say that I have learned, like, I was a bartender when I started. I knew nothing about prion disease. I had a master's in English, and that was about it. So I have learned so much, especially from Dr. Gambetti, but I've been given the opportunity by Brian to do a lot more research, and I found that I really like doing that. I also do a lot of the pedigrees for the families that come in, and I, on my own volition, will go to Ancestry and find all the people I can find, just so we have as complete process as possible. So research for me is something that I didn't really ever think that I would like to do, but I do really enjoy it. Excuse me.
Hi, my name is Meghan. I'm one of the autopsy coordinators. I have been at the center since 2017. It's truly an awesome place to work. These are great people. It's extremely meaningful work, what we do. And thank you to everybody. We really appreciate all of your support, the foundation, Aiken. We know how much you support us, and we really appreciate that. And I also am very grateful for the trust that you place in us to care for your family and your loved one. That's extremely important to all of us. So what I've learned, and this is kind of a basic life thing. It's not rocket science or anything, but really the value of people and doing what you say you're going to do, taking care of people and taking care of things. And it could be something like you have been trying to contact a physician to get a hold of your loved one's results, and no one's calling you back, and you don't know where to turn, you don't know what to do. Being able to do something as simple as me contacting that physician's office and sending them results to get to you, it's a basic thing, but it's so impactful to you. And thank you for trusting us and allowing us to do that.
Hi, my name is Eriton. I work at in the Western Blot lab doing the diagnosis with the frozen tissue. So Dr. Brian asked me to present a little bit about my story because I'm from Brazil. I'm started as a researcher. Actually, I started in Prion field in 2001 when I read about a protein, because in that time I would like to study proteins because I love the biochemistry, and I heard about a protein, strange protein called Prion, and I started to read about Prion. And before going to the college, I wanted to work with Prion, but only with the protein. But when I go into the college, when I started to finish my college, I met two families, and these two families changed my life, because I knew that I don't want to know more about the protein per se. I want to know more about to help the family, because I saw that I helped too much then, and so I needed to help them. So I created a Facebook group, Skype, now we have Instagram, WhatsApp. I'm trying to reach the family as much as I can, and I still work in Brazilian family. I'm a member. DCJ Brazil is a group, it's not an official group, but I think that this year it will be an official group. I hope so. And this group is belonging to CGD International Support Alliance. This is a huge group too. So I think that I learned a lot. I thought that I understand about Prion, and I started to read more about here, working in the Prion field, and I still needed to learn more, because it's always have something to learn more, especially with the families. We needed to work more hard for the families. And I would like to say thank you for everyone, for the foundation, for everyone that do the advocacy. And I think that you can say to everyone that to work in the Prion Center is a good thing, because it's a good environment. Everyone is a good people, and so it's so nice to work there. It's the way that you're always, I need to work. No, it's a good day. It's a good thing to there, and it's working with the field, because it's something that I really like it, and work with these people is too good. So again, thank you so much to support us, and you try to keep to do our job as much as you can. Thank you.
So I knew this would happen. Eriton always sells himself short. How many surveillance centers have you worked at?
Sorry, I forgot about, because when I started in this field, I started, I needed to find a family. So how the way that to do it is, we needed to surveillance. And I needed to learn about surveillance. So I went to Canada in 2013, and I invited by Holland Tambu, and she was belonging to National Surveillance Center in Canada at that time. And I learned how to do the surveillance center, and I think, I needed to understand how to do the surveillance in Canada, because it's a really good one to improve in Brazil. And I go back to Brazil, and nothing happened, of course. And I still working with this, and I went to Germany. I work in the Western Blot in the Ingat lab. Matthias is here. Is one a colleague of mine in that time, and I learned more about Prion, more about the surveillance system, and I say, oh, now I have 2 surveillance systems, and I understand 2 surveillance systems. Now I can go back to Brazil and improve the surveillance system in Brazil. But no, never happens again. Because you have a huge country, you have several problems, but so far, since 2007, 8 more or less, I'm in this field trying to help the families and doing everything that I tried. And I come here to US, and I think that maybe with all the knowledge that I have here, with a huge center, I think that is one of the best in the world. I think that the surveillance system here in US and in England, I believe that's one of the best in the world. And enjoy with the German too. There is 3 of the top 10 in the world. So I think that I have all the knowledge to improve that. But I think that I can work here, help the families here, and still help the Brazilian families without go back and try to create a surveillance system that I want to that will happen. But let's see. And in the end, I forgot to mention, this year, the Prion Scientific Meeting to Prion 2025 will be held in Brazil. Everyone is invited to be there. It will be a very special moment for me. I mean, I'm very, very happy to announce this in Brazil. I mean, this is kind of my dream, to bring Prion meet in Brazil, and it will be there. And I'm here. This is strange, but it'll be amazing to everyone will be there. Feel free to enjoy to us in November this year, and that you'll be in this chaotic and beautiful and amazing country called Brazil.
Great. Well, hopefully 3rd time is a charm, right? No, I mean, Eriton, I think it definitely demonstrates your dedication to the field and especially to the family. So thank you for what you do. And last but not least, Gabby.
Hi, as I've been introduced, I'm Gabby. I am our tissue coordinator and a research assistant. I also monitor our biobank repository and test in molecular genetics, and also work in the client services area. So I do a lot of different things. And I think one thing that I've learned is that you never know it all. You always get to learn in this field. And I mean, that's very true for research in general, but just at the Prion Center, working in an active disease, working with different families, working with people and researchers, you truly never have a day that's like the day before, whether it's chaotic or calm. You're always working for the progress and advancement for all of you, for people. And I think that's one of the most rewarding things ever, but it's also one of the truly most amazing achievements, I feel like, as a people, as a society. I did a lot of work in nonprofit work and research before joining. And I think having all these fields kind of combined, getting to work towards a cure, getting to work on that research aspect and the front-facing aspect and with the labs has truly shown me all the different sides. And I'm eternally grateful for that.
And thank you guys. You're just a great team. Awesome to work with. A very special place to work. I think I might be right with this. Correct me if I'm wrong, Katie, but I realized this morning, I think the 3 of us, Eriton, yourself, and me, have been in this field almost the same exact amount of years. Probably. Yeah, which is kind of weird. So, all right. So
we're the same age.
I was kind of thinking it was magical, Katie, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we're the same age, and yeah, you got it. Yeah. So I think we'll open it up to any questions or comments that the families have or any of our colleagues.
Thanks to all of you for being here. My name's Adam, and on one of the slides that you showed, Dr. Appleby, it showed what looked to be a pretty flat number of genetic cases coming into the lab each year. That kind of wasn't what I expected, so I'd be curious to hear just if you have any thoughts on the number of genetic cases that come into the lab, and obviously with it being genetic, that increases the chances that future generations would get it. I would expect it to go up. So just curious to hear any thoughts you have on that.
No, that's a good eye. So that graph was for brain tissue. What I think probably happens with genetic cases is a lot of people get find out so a loved one has a genetic prion disease, and then they themselves get tested to see if they're at risk. And the likelihood, I think, of some families decreases in terms of donating their brain after that, because they kind of already know the status. So it is a little bit different from other countries. It's off by about maybe 5%, but my guess is that's what's going on. Also, nowadays you can get genetic testing at many places, not just the Prion Center. So that probably takes away some of our numbers as well. But good eye.
Hi, I have a question about tissue donation. Do you have a registry for that? And if someone does donate their brain, what happens to the rest of the tissue?
For like, if you want to sign up for brain donation, yeah, so you could go on our website. There's an autopsy section and the forms are there. You would just fill them out and send them in to us, and then we'll keep them on file and start a record in our database. So we only get funding for brain donation. So that's the only tissue that we take. We do take the entire brain, and then we do all of our testing, and everything stays at our biobanks that you saw. And it's available for researchers to request for anything that they need. So the process, the other tissues, which would be, I guess, the rest of the body, would just go back to the funeral home, and then your family can do cremation or a burial.
I don't have a question. I just have a statement. I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. The research that you all do, the commitment that you have, and the sacrifice that you make. I just want to say thank you. Thank you to the foundation. I appreciate this conference and everything about it. I've learned so much, and I'm so very inspired. And I just wanted to say thank you.
Maybe just to underscore that point from a scientific perspective, the value of this center cannot be understated. I missed the beginning of it all, Brian, so you may have covered this already, but in terms of operating costs, we heard about operating revenue and operating costs for the actual foundation itself. But for the center, what are we talking about? And what kind of alternate strategies might there be if, obviously, continuing to lobby on Capitol Hill is at the forefront? But are there any other strategies that you can consider for keeping funding for the surveillance center?
Yeah, so this happened again or before in 2016, and at that time we realized how vulnerable we were to even just actually a funding cut, because almost all of our revenue at the center came from the CDC grant. So around that time, we did other things to bring in other sources of revenue to help offset if that were to happen. So, for example, we also have a clinical lab that does clinical testing on patient samples. That is self-supportive through clinical billing. And so, that would not be affected at all by any cut to CDC grant, and that infrastructure is completely supported. Of course, usually when you do clinical testing, things like that, you do build in some buffer if you can't collect charges. So we do bring in some income from that as well, although it's minimal. We mainly charge at cost. We also brought on other research grants outside of prion disease. So we do a variety of autopsy coordination and neuropathology for other neurodegenerative illnesses like our Alzheimer's Center and frontotemporal dementia. You may remember back in the day, a lot of times if you requested specimens from the Prion Center or work, the center actually just ate the cost, and it was not a very good idea, and a horrible idea right now. So we don't charge much, but if someone does request samples, we do charge a minimal amount just to help with, covering those pipette tips that you saw and, staff time. That helps. And we engage in other research as well with some of our industry partners. And we have other grants as well, like a rapidly progressive neurodegeneration grant with Greg Day at Mayo. So a lot of different redundancy for that. Did I miss any other programs? Okay. Yeah, it's kind of cobbled together and allows us to kind of move things along. We can tolerate cuts. The issue, and I think we talked about this last time, is, well, what happens if we're zeroed out and we're not able to do surveillance at all? We'll be able to cover everything that we've already collected, like the freezers and all that. But if we're not able to have any type of funding or infrastructure to prospectively collect things, then we have to get creative to do things.
My question came out of the video. And first of all, my person is looking over your left shoulder, Brian, Cheryl Hall. And I wonder how, I was thinking in the video, maybe that's Cheryl's tissue. And how long do you keep the tissue samples? Do you work on them longitudinally, or just curious?
I was like, yeah, you want me to handle that one? We're making eye contact, but I don't know. We keep the tissues indefinitely in the biobank repository. So once the testing is done, we store both the fixed and the frozen halves indefinitely. And then, like Dr. Appleby mentioned, when research requests come through, I can kind of catalog. I am also the research assistant in that area, and I catalog those biomaterials so that way we can pull from different tissues and be able to use those for our various requests. But rest assured that we know in our system exactly where your person is. They're safe at all times, and at any given moment, we can pull that.
I like to say they have the new address. Mm-hmm. We can pull them up. We know exactly where they are.
Yeah, I think this was really palpable a couple years ago. And Gabby, you were involved in this, but for Strides for CJD, a lot of businesses donate things, right, to help raise funds. So we donate a dinner with the staff and tour of the center. And the first year we did it, Gabby, you want to talk about what happened when they visited the biobank? What the family asked and what you're able to do for them?
Oh, well, put me on the spot a lot.
Sorry.
No, I'm young. So at any given moment, like you can see in the video, we have our whole database. So you can just give a name, a date of birth, one factor that identifies that person. We can immediately pull up what we have tissue-wise, and then tell you exactly where it is, what freezer, what shelf, what area.
So this family member asked Gabby, where's my dad? Yeah. And within a minute.
It's very quick.
She was able to open the door and point.
And pull it up.
All right. Well, I think our time is up. But again, thank you so much for your support. We really appreciate it.